Good morning. Time for some more stuff. It's a beautiful day. Got the old F100 out, our little super budget. Um, I wouldn't even call it a resto. It's our budget F100 beater, basically. And we're gonna try and get a transmission in this bad boy today. After this coffee. Figured I'd mix it up. I've been a little all over the place lately. Did the wedding. That was great. Went without a hitch. We had the Duster, and one of the neighbors has an old D100. We had them parked side by side, kind of as our, I don't know, entry foyer, I guess. Kind of setting the path down. We got married on the water at a little park. It was excellent. Perfect weather. Couldn't beat it. So the Duster served its purpose. We got it all cleaned up and done. If you haven't, check that video out. Just posted it up the other day. Finally finished editing. So that one, for now, we're going to call done. And it's running good. The only thing really that needs is just some polishing. So we're just going to let that one stew for a while. And we're going to redirect efforts. I've got two projects that you're going to be seeing soon because we have to address. One we're tackling today, which is the budget F100. We're going to try and get the new transmission, the new to me transmission, slapped in this thing. I think I've got some, hopefully, some assistance and backup coming to help out get that thing manhandled up in there. But goal for today at a minimum is going to be to get the trans up and bolted in to the truck, and then if that goes smooth and we're still, not hurting terribly, we're going to go ahead and try and hook everything up to it, get the lines fed, get the speedometer hooked back up, all the little brackets and things I took off to get things out of the way, and maybe, just maybe, get it done enough to take it around the block. Either way, that's going to happen, just may not happen today. So we'll see. Got all weekend to tackle it. It's Saturday morning now. I've got today and tomorrow free to mess with this thing. So we're going to go ahead and get diving in on that in a second. And then once we get this one tackled, I really want to get this done so I can get it driving, movable. And the plan is going to be actually take it down, I think, and leave it in Keystone for a while, because the Bronco is stranded out there. Had some issues with that thing. I believe I've got a hung open fuel injector because it's running horribly, horribly pig rich. And it looks like the Batmobile, black cloud of smoke puffing out the back of it. So we're going to get this thing up and running, back on its feet. We're going to bomb it down to Keystone, and then we'll get some footage on rescuing the Bronco from down there. And I'll probably leave this one to be farm duty for a while and bring the Bronco back here because I've got some other things in mind for it. And it'll be nice to have the whole fleet back in action. Because right now, the fleet consists of the Duster, the F100, the Bronco, and the new work truck over here. So I got the four of them, and right now, only two of them are running. So just the new truck and the Duster, the only two I can use. So 50% capacity is not what we want. Here's what we're putting in. So clearly this thing was last serviced by somebody more anal than I am. It even says you need to use the 164 tooth flywheel. I have no idea how many teeth are on my flywheel, but they gave me the flywheel. So I'm actually going to take this and just hold it up underneath the truck and compare it to the one in it, and try and line the teeth up and just make sure the teeth count is the same. If it is, we're going to keep the flywheel in it that's already there. It'll save us some headache. Worst case scenario though, we gotta crack the old one off and stick the new one on. One thing I'm pretty sure I'm gonna have to do here though is change out this linkage. This is the kick down, and it's got a bushing that's broken on it. And this is some cobbled up, welded on craziness. I think it's because this was not in a F100 last. It was actually in a Mustang, so they've adapted a little bit. So I may have to get creative. I may have to zip this off, back that nut out. I don't need, that's like the, I guess that's like the neutral safety switch. I can probably pull all that off and stick the linkage from the other trans on it. But I'm going to try and get it up in the truck just like this, and we can always change that while it's in there. There is plenty of room to get to that shifter stuff. Got our flywheel. I'm going to shimmy up underneath there. Let's see. So this is the same. It will work. We're going to go with the factory one, which is nice. It looks to be in good shape. There's no issues with any of the teeth. I think the starter will grab it just fine. So I'm gonna go back in with the same, which means we can keep the same flex plate behind here as well. So that's gonna make it a little bit easier for us. We got reinforcements. We got Alonzo in the house.
Hello, hello.
Alonzo with Palms Air Conditioning for all your air conditioning and heating needs.
In Jacksonville, Florida. Hit us up. For real.
So he's gonna help me manhandle this thing in here, which we're almost ready for. So we're gonna have to pull that kick down linkage out of the way because it's the way it's laying, and I can't really tie it up under there. It's right in the middle of the bell housing right now. So we'll pop that off, throw it off to the side, and then you think take the dipstick out of that thing probably.
Yeah, that'll make it so that we don't just ruin it as we're putting it in here. Plus, you'll be able to align the bell housing easy.
Yeah. So we'll pop that off. Hopefully fluid doesn't come pouring out because that's from when I removed the transmission and after I degreased it. So it's hard to get that smell out of your clothes. You know, I threw away that outfit. All right, so that's the guy we're after. So we just need to try and pop this little C-clip off. That was easy. Easiest thing we'll do all day.
Probably so.
And she's free. We're just gonna leave it right there so I don't lose it. We're gonna put that C-clip back on. I've lost way too many of these little tiny things to trust myself to remember where I put it all.
Yeah, that's the best practices to put things back.
Come on. There we go. Because you can see my organized pile of all the bolts that I took off this thing. Nice and lined up where I know exactly
Perfect.
what everything goes.
These are all exactly the same size, right?
No.
I'm just kidding.
And the good thing is I did it now, like, what, 3 weeks ago? So
yeah.
I have no memory of where any of these
Nah, we can. It's okay. They're all the same, basically.
The ones that are all the same length, actually, that's not even true. The ones that are all the same length go on, they're all the bell housing bolts. But there's, I think, 2 of them that are bell housing bolts that are longer.
Okay.
So we'll figure that out as we start putting her back together, I guess. These 2 up top here, I know, are the uppermost 2 bell housing bolts, which I figure are probably the one we want to get one of those started first, so it can hang. So I left those up top. We'll get it up in there. I'll finger tighten the 2 up top, and then we can start figuring out the rest. All these oddball ones, a lot of these I got to replace anyway. Like, look how chewed up that is.
Oh, yeah.
And this carriage bolt, which they took a lot of hardware that didn't belong to hold. So those are for like the cross members, and the cross members weren't even tight, and they were moving around, and that's why that one's all like jacked up.
I think you can just find the thread pitch at like Ace Hardware.
It doesn't even need to be the same thread pitch because those nut in to those.
Oh,
so
nice.
I'm just gonna find some hardware I've got that'll work, and make some nins.
So,
all right,
you
so
better just take
here's
that
our fancy transmission plug. Yeah, it's pretty
Alright,
close.
so if you guys want to kind of hold it, I'll try and slide it in their spot.
Deal. Let her rip. The pavers make it hard to.
It's gonna be all wonky.
Here, I can pull the. Yeah. Oh, it's gonna just clear. Oh, look at that.
That's an eyeball measurement right there.
Ugh. That's cozy. Go ahead. I'll try and shove the transmission if you can shove the jack. The wheels won't. Hey, Dad, grab that ratchet strap, just the strap, the long strap. We'll hook it to the jack and you can pull it from the front. And we'll drag the whole chunk forward, you know? Okay. Hand it to me from under the front bumper. Hook first, yep. All right, pull that. Yeah. Give her a pull. Yeah, ingenuity, perfect.
Alright, how far forward does the torque converter sit?
It's an inch back, inch and a quarter back from the bell housing.
Okay, cool, perfect then. Alright, we'll just, we'll move this. Alright.
So give her some height, I guess.
That one might be going in.
Ooh, I think I might have it too.
But I can't. Oh, I can actually start it barely.
I've got it in just slightly with my fingers, but I'm gonna need a ratchet now. Just don't drop her on my face and we're good. A piece of my glove is stuck between the. Yeah, and the torque converter bolts are in, which is awesome. So all I gotta do is rotate it, tighten those up. Once we get a couple of those in, then we'll just set that. The nice thing is the cross member sits on this flange, so all we have to do is set it in place, and it can sit, and then I can bolt it up later. You know what I mean? That's why the American ones are easier to work on.
Yeah, I know.
And you got tons of space under here.
I'm usually working on a stall.
Yeah.
And I tried to do mine, but I got it. It took forever. But it was really nice.
And just do it snug. Don't wail on it yet. And then if you can, get both of those top ones. I love how much work I'm putting into this crappy old truck that I can see into the inside of the truck from the floor. The floor pans have some pinholes in them. I mean, oh yeah, the last one I bought for $1,200, that flatbed, and I think I got $3,500 for it. And I had literally only put a couple $100 into it. Oh yeah, this one wasn't running when I bought it, but the body, it may not look it because the paint's not perfect, but this body's actually pretty rust-free on the cab. The bed's rusted to heck, but the cab, which is usually what rots on these, is pretty solid, which is the main reason I got it. I think I paid $1,800 for it. But I bet once I got this, now that this transmission's in here, once I get it back up and on its feet, I could probably get $5 for this, I bet.
Yeah, there you go.
But I'll probably try and keep this one for a while, just to have a... Someone overdid a lot of things on me. Thanks for helping though. 3 people definitely made that way smoother. Probably wouldn't have been that smooth otherwise, I guess. contemplating trying to do it myself and was not enjoying the thought.
I always do it by myself. For hours.
And then wish you had just called someone. Well, I'm always down to help with stuff. Thanks for helping me with this. I actually thought about it with yours. It seemed easier to put in the whole thing all as one chunk.
Oh yeah.
I thought about pulling the engine
Oh, no.
and doing them both, but yeah, I mean, it worked out good. There you go. I got that as a Christmas present from Kayla's mom. She knows me so well. It's off center too. This must be it's not the same on each side. So it must need to go like this. Yeah, that looks more rightish. Still needs to go up though. Go for it. A little more. A little more. Is that all it's got? Shit, hold on. Oh, I can just shove it up with my foot. All right. Let the jack down a little.
A little bit.
Yeah, let it down. Is that all it's got?
I can go.
Go a little more. Yeah, there you go. All right, now
it's sitting on there.
I need to spray those clean again.
Yeah, and I'll just
Awesome. Yeah, thanks for the assist.
Oh, of course.
That would have been way more miserable.
Like I said, I was just hanging out here all day if I didn't get calls. I didn't know how the day was gonna go.
I thought it would be the end of the day before I got that thing bolted in.
Oh really? It's not even
It took us what, an hour and a half?
Yeah. I knew it wasn't gonna be that hard.
So I realized I've been talking to myself with no one being able to hear me for like the last 5 minutes because I forgot my microphone inside when I washed up. So that's nice. But what I was saying is Alonzo just left. He had to run a service call, but he helped me get the trans in. So having a celebratory installation juice. So we've got, everything is just finger tight, snugged. But we got all the bolts in for the transmission to engine at the bell housing. We've got the transmission cross member in place, transmission mount bolted to it, but the actual cross member is not bolted to frame yet. So that's the next step. And then we got a nut and bolt check everything, tighten everything back up that we've touched so far, and then install the accessories. Trans dipstick tube. The speedometer cable's in, but just finger tight, so we got to tighten that up. We got to do shift linkage, kick down linkage, drive shaft, get all of that stuff bolted back up, get the transmission cooler lines tightened up and installed, and then the vacuum modulator needs to be hooked up as well. Once we get all that done, it should be ready for fluid. Got to go to the store at that point. I don't have any more trans fluid, and I don't have any Loctite, and I want to use Loctite on the nuts that go on the torque converter to flywheel studs. Those I definitely don't want coming loose. So we're gonna get fluid and Loctite after we get that all done, and I get a shower because I'm not getting in anything like this. I might look a little clean, but I can assure you that I'm not. But we're gonna get it all tightened up today, it sounds like. And worst case scenario, we get to the store and dump fluid in it and test it tomorrow. But either way, this weekend, this truck will move because we made great progress. I'll have to check the video time and see, but I think in real time, it took us an hour, I believe, to get the transmission in. Some tips that I've learned from this that I would definitely do again, that were smart. We got some big giant zip ties, and we zip tied that 2x4 to the bottom of the pan and the transmission to put it on the jack to bolt it up. That worked fantastic. Now that I've got the cross member in, all I gotta do is cut those zip ties and it's released. That was genius. Having just the wood floating underneath it, it kept slipping out when I was trying to do removal. So that was worthwhile. So that was a good tip. Trying to move the jack forward and backwards. It's hard to move it. You can move it in line with the front wheels, right? But left to right is difficult. So we slid it in from the side, but for the moving it closer to the bell housing, it's hard to shift it that way. So a trick I learned, we took our strap from our come along, our ratchet strap, looped that around the front axle of the jack and just had someone in front pull the whole thing sideways. That worked really well. That's how we got it up and seated. And then extra set of hands, critical. I maybe could have done this myself, but it would be a lot darker outside filming this part with the celebration juice. So set of hands, very helpful. I really appreciate the help from the guys. That was big. So next up, I gotta pull a couple bolts out. I got to pull one of those bolts out to get the transmission dipstick tube in, and then we're going to start tightening everything, starting there, working our way back. And then once everything's snug, we'll start doing accessories. For now, I'll probably just throw you guys on time lapse, let you watch, because there's not a whole lot to see under here wrenching. And then once I get into some of the accessory stuff, I'll throw you guys underneath and let you watch along again. But so far, so good. That wheel is tight, boy. That's something I need to remember to get from the store. I was looking underneath here, and the soft brake lines are very swelled up and worn. So these things are darn near locked up. Yeah. So we're going to change that. We're going to do the other side too. Both of them are pretty bad off. So we'll pick those up when we go get our fluid. I'll find out who's got it all in stock. Probably O'Reilly's or Advanced seem to have the most stuff for these. And then we're in business. Ready, break. Here we go. Going back underneath. So camera died yesterday before I could finish up everything, but wanted to show you guys the progress that we made. The transmission is in. Fill tube is in. That was tricky because I actually had to bend the tube just a little bit and flex the exhaust slightly out of the way to clear. It's very close. But it does clear, and it is in, and I got it through the bolt up there to secure it. We got the vacuum line hooked up on the that vacuum modulator. We got some fancy linkage work. I had to remove that neutral safety switch or shift sensor, whatever that thing was, that we don't need for this truck anyway, And I had to unbolt and flip the kickdown linkage was down here. The shifter originally would have been shift linkage going up, kickdown linkage going down. We reversed that. So now the kickdown linkage goes up. We got that connected. It does look like it's working just fine. This is where we had to get creative. So normally this lever on the old transmission was up. This one came down at a downward angle. So I cut that bar off. Drilled another hole in it, drilled through here, and used it as a adapter to get my linkage connected back to that same shifter, and got it rigged up. That zip tie is just to keep, this is tight, but it's just to keep that a little bit more precaution to keep it from trying to move and change that angle. But rode it through all the gears. That seems to work pretty good. It doesn't exactly line up with the indicator inside, but it does shift through and you can feel it go into the detent in every gear. So we're gonna call that good. What else did we do yesterday? So we got both linkages done. Oh, we got the speedometer cable in and installed. We got, hey, shoo! Whew. So we got the dipstick in. We got all the bolts tightened except for the upper two in the engine compartment we still have to do. So down here, all that's really left is drive shaft. So we can get that from A to B. And then we got to do the lines still need to be hooked up. And then torque converter bolts, which I need to grab some Loctite before we put those in. What else? I think that's actually it for under here. Oh, and starter. We gotta get the starter snatched back in there. But that'll be easy enough. So we'll get him bolted up, and then that'll be that for under here. And then all we've got on top is tightening those upper two bolts. We got to get those two bolts in the back tightened up and add fluid to this thing. So we're going to go ahead and get this thing up on the tripod and get to work. Alright, drive shaft time. Let's start with the easy stuff. So first things first. Take these back off. I've just got the hardware finger tightened on here for now so I wouldn't lose it. Peel our tape off that was holding everything together back here. There she is. So we got it seated on here. Drive shaft bolted in, good to go. Alright, let's see if we can route these lines in here. Alright, these flywheel bolts. Got a 1/2-inch ratchet on the bolt on the crank snout so we can roll her over. I got the first one on. I haven't torqued them down or anything, but I got the first one on just snug. We're going to go around and get all four snug and then go around and cinch them. Seems like a good a time as any to use my torque wrench for the first time. So, gotta shut her down, get on the Googles, find out what the torque spec actually is for those bolts, and then we'll be back. Alright, looked it up. 20 to 34 foot-pounds, which is a little bit of a range, but that's okay. So, I've set my torque wrench to 31 foot-pounds. We're going to give her a whirl. That's one. And 4. Torque converter bolted to flywheel. Well, flex plate, I suppose we should say. I don't know. One of those things people mix up all the time, but technically, if it's an automatic, it's a flex plate. If it's a manual, it's a flywheel. And that little plate between the shim plate, whatever you want to call it, backer plate, is not a flex plate, which I called it earlier. That was wrong. But so, anywho's, we're bolted in. We're to spec. First time I've ever done anything with a torque wrench to spec. I got this thing at Christmas 2 years ago. First time using it. But that's one I don't want to get off. So those are in, those are tight. Starter's next. Alright, starter time. Let's see if we can get this bad boy in without cracking our skull open a little. Golly. It is a heavy one. Good thing they made it so light. Oh, I'm going to be all in your junk, aren't I? That's alright. It's a good advantage, I guess. Probably should do the top one first, but I can reach this bottom one, so I'm going to try it first. Yeah, let's go for the top one. Yeah, bam. Alright, we're going to try and start messing with these cooler lines here. So we got to get a wrench off the snout since we're done with it. Set it off to the side. So we got new lines here, old lines here. We just got to snip these, run a piece of hose right to these. They actually line up pretty good, especially if those are each in the right spot. So which one is this? So this one's going to be the one inlet. This one should be the one for the outlet. Outlet is going to be the return, should be the rear lines, which means this one hopefully is the rear line. Can't tell from here. We're going to have to sneak around. It's the one that goes up and over there. That goes to the top. This one. This one's the return. So this one should go here. That'll be easy. And this one should go here. Boom. Snip, snip, and some hose. Let's get some hose and get it cut. So we're gonna get mildly fancy here. Got my flare tool set I bought to do the brakes on that F350, so we can cut these without getting shavings everywhere. So we're gonna go ahead and cut first. And we're gonna use some short pieces of hose. So I'm actually just gonna cut this one right here. got it. Let's make this end out. And then we're gonna repeat over here. Boom. Deleted. That's imminent failure. Well, we got our hoses put together. Nice, neat, clean install. But that leak has gotten persistent. When I finally got the hose on there, it just, that corrosion and everything is just eating away at it. And it's not the threaded part of the line, it's actually where that is brazed onto the tank is failed. And that's gonna shut us down. And so is all this. It's looking pretty stormy here. So I think this might about wrap it up for today. We got everything done though. Everything's tight, everything's connected. The only thing left to do is add transmission fluid and now water or coolant to it. I don't have either yet. I haven't been to the hardware store, so we'll do that. Maybe we try and get this thing filled up, but I think the rain's gonna shut us down probably here within the next hour. So at least all the mechanicals are done. It's just filling up and testing it now. I'm gonna go ahead and order, because we don't know if it works yet, might as well throw some money at it. We're gonna go ahead and order a cheap eBay radiator, get that coming, so we can do the radiator and the brake lines to make this thing closer to drivable. So that's the plan. And, it's cleanup time, and I'll get with you guys once we've got some fluids in it. So bad, I almost forgot to record. So, new radiator came in the mail, got it going in. It was about 2 inches wider than the old radiator. So we actually had to unbolt the factory horns, which were offset on either side. Mounting provisions for those and 2 unused ones on the bottom to fit the wider radiator, which is probably pre-cut out for like the F200, I assume, for a heavier duty package. But we got it in there, so that worked. The downside is our fan shroud's not going to work anymore because it's not as wide as the radiator is. So we'll be sans shroud, but also with a much larger functional radiator. So probably end up being about a net zero, you know. So we got that in. It was a little tricky. The radiator hoses were actually, the fittings on the new radiator are slightly larger also. So clearly this radiator is not spec for this truck apparently. Go figure, the cheapest one on Amazon wasn't an exact fit. But we made it work, so we got that in. So that is done and tackled. So we're filling her up. Gotta get the funnel in the trans, start putting some juice in it. Then we'll fire this thing up, see what happens. But it actually fits in here pretty well, really. I think it'll work good. The trans lines, everything like that was a direct fit. So all the stuff we already bent, didn't waste our time on. It went right back on. We was able to unscrew the old connections and put them right in. I'll show you how rough the old connections were. But no, we're golden. We almost full. When we fire it up, it'll probably suck a little more down, so we probably will use the rest of that jug still anyhow. Old radiator coming apart just a little bit. This is where our leak was. If you look at this fitting, probably isn't supposed to wiggle back and forth in the core like that. That was our problem. The rest of the radiator is actually holding, as terrible as it was. But now we're disco. You can see that's where we spliced our lines in. New connections running all the way to the radiator. So that's the only rubber in that whole loop, which is good, which means we should be hopefully clear and leak free. You can see the swell I got on that hose. So at some point I'll have to replace the hoses and use fatter ones, but I was able to manhandle them on there for now. And that's that. So we're gonna go ahead and pop that trans dipstick out and get to filling. All right, I think we're pretty close to ready for fire up. Wipe down our dipstick, plunge it one more time. This is a replacement dipstick, so I'm also assuming that it's correct, but it is definitely full. But it hasn't rode through any gears yet, so we're gonna leave it just like that. We're gonna give the radiator just a little top off. We're gonna try and fire it up, run it through the gears really quick. And then check that dipstick again, see if we need to add some. Nothing on it again now. Go ahead through. Third. Brakes grab, so it's going to take a minute before it actually lets him go enough to really get the slow roll, but definitely positive. This carb as far as adjustments go, that's just how it ran once I got it going, which really isn't bad, but it's definitely stumbling. And I don't know how old this gas is. I've never added anything to it. I don't know how much is in it, but she goes forward right now.
That's an improvement.
Actually, it goes pretty good. Steering's a little loose, but not too bad. Brakes are horrendous, but that's because we know that the fronts are, those lines are swelled up. There we go. She's loud. And there you have it. She lives. She's running, driving pretty good. I do have brake lines that have to go on it next. And then we got a little bit more cosmetic stuff to make her more livable. But like every other project I have, there's always something to be done. So upside for you guys is more content. Downside for me is more work to do. But luckily it's enjoyable work. And the fruit is rewarding. So we're gonna keep on wrenching with it, and we will catch you next time when we do more stuff.